Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire podcast. I'm Abby, and joining me today is my beautiful co-host Ashley, and we are here to take you on an exciting journey through J.R.R. Tolkien's incredible world, making it fun and easy to dive into. So whether you are a Tolkien aficionado or you're just curious about Middle-earth, this podcast is for you.
This season, we're exploring the unfinished tales. If you're already familiar with these stories, get ready to uncover fascinating details, connect the dots between all of the things, and geek out over the rich lore behind them.
And if you haven't read the Unfinished Tales yet, like me, no worries. If you've loved The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, also like me, this is your chance to discover even more of Tolkien's universe with us. We promise engaging discussions and lots of fun and laughter as we delve into these lesser-known gems.
So whether you're folding laundry, on a road trip, on a work commute, or just relaxing at home, feel free to tune in and join us for this epic journey through Tolkien's unfinished tales. Let's go!
Let's go! So, I apologize in advance if you guys can hear jet planes around me. I live...
Dragons. They're dragons, Abby. They're dragons.
Oh my gosh. They do sound like dragons. They're very terrifying. They're very terrifying. So we live in a what would you call it?
You have a town with an aviation legacy. Aviation.
No, we just have like a lot of like
pride.
Aviation museums, like aviation museums, and like we have the Spruce Goose where I live, which is a very famous airplane. My favorite museum actually is the Space Museum because we have like space shuttle stuff and like really cool NASA memorabilia and stuff like that. We even have a NASA room where we have a rocket in this museum, and it's so big that they had to dig down so that it could fit into the building. And so it's like this huge giant building, and this rocket like touches the ceiling, but then you have to go down like 3 stories to get to the bottom of where the rocket is. It's pretty cool. Anyway, there's a NASA control room, like fake control room, and you can pretend to be the NASA people in there, and you can have a launch, and it like kind of shakes the whole room. It's pretty cool. Anyway, because it's like it's blasting off.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so we have a very big aviation love, I would say, in my town. And so we host a air show, which is like a sky rodeo. It's like a sky, what would it be called? Show where they like fly really fast jet planes and they do like stunts and stuff. So they have these giant jet planes that go by, but I live next to an open field, and so they like to do turnarounds over my house, but they're so low to the ground that you could like see the words on the airplanes. Like you can read them fully, like the name of the airplane and everything. That's how low they are. And you can hear, I don't know if you can hear one, but there's one going over right now. But it scared us so badly. We were driving home today, and it was so incredibly loud. My husband almost crashed our car, and he screamed, and it was like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And like my kids,
this is how I go.
Yeah, my kids started crying. It was so because you can't see it because the whole thing of like speed of sound or whatever. But
also, you're in a car, not a see-through roof kind of thing.
Yeah. But like it is, if dragons sounded like that, terrifying. Oh my gosh, so scary. Yeah. But it was really cool though when we were driving. We were driving over a bridge and we saw the Blue Angels, that's who's here. The Blue Angels like fly over the bridge above us, and then they shot straight up, like straight up. And then they started putting on their like steam smoke trail thingy that they do.
Yeah.
And they made a heart over us, like right in front of us. We're like, whoa. It is pretty cool because like we don't even have to pay for a ticket. We could just see it all. We don't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I apologize if you hear giant scary noises in the back of my audio. But
well, so far we are good. We will just say that there's a dragon loose in
oh
your city.
My gosh. Kids, run, kids!
Honestly, someone find the black arrow.
Oh yeah. How could you outrun a dragon? Yeah.
You don't. So how much do you remember of last episode?
I remember they finally made it to King Thingol.
Mm-hmm.
They finally made it to what is it called?
Menegroth.
No, Menegroth.
Doriath. So Doriath is like the area, the
county.
The county. Yes, I like that. And Menegroth would be like the city or like the house name, like Pemberley or Menegroth.
But first they were like really lost, right? Because they had to go through the special magical
girdle of Melian.
That makes you confused. And then they got lost and they almost starved, right? Because they just couldn't, what's the word? Find a way out, first of all. But also there wasn't anything to sustain them where they were. And then one of my favorite dudes found them. Beleg, that super cool elf guy.
Beleg.
And he was like, what the heck are you guys doing out here? Some kid and two old dudes? Like the most random.
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yes. And he's like, and he was like super sweet to Turin, right? He was just like, he's like, hey, buddy, like, what you doing out here? And then he brought them back to King Thingol. Menegroth.
Or King Thingol, sure.
And King Thingol was like weird. Well, it was weird. It's weird to us as what we know him as before. It was a very weird reception because he was so like, oh, of course, welcome. Oh my gosh, you're gonna be like my son now. Like I'm gonna take care of you. Like all this stuff. And as a person who's read the earlier stories of King Thingol, you're like, huh? Like, that is not that dude's vibe at all.
No. No.
Especially towards mortal man, which aren't his favorite. So I guess he's like, you're mine now. You're my kid now. And it's pretty cool there. And Turin is like pretty, like safe and gets help, taken care of and all that stuff. And okay, I have to ask, do you feel like he is in the presence of like all these elves that are like loving towards him and treating him very like not royally, but just very well, and he's getting good food and a good bed and like all this stuff? Is he finally like, oh, I get what my dad was talking about. This is awesome. Elves are cool.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And I wonder, I just thought of this, if he, I mean, in some ways you could think of him being like in a foreign country practically, with these elves that speak a little. I mean, I think the language is the same, but the way that they speak it is a little different.
More
Kind of
proper,
like
maybe.
how, yeah, so Hurin, spoke like it too, and maybe because of that it's a bit familiar. It's not quite as foreign sounding or scary as it could have been for like anyone else.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Yeah.
And that's all I remember.
So the one thing I will add, so the two soldiers that were with Turin that guided him there, they also remain in Menegroth, and one of them
A
eventually
cool
does
retirement.
die.
Oh man.
Yes. And the remaining one, either from like moral obligation to Morwen, or like, hey, maybe this elf living isn't for man. Apparently it kills us. I'm going to go back to Morwen and keep an eye on her and protect her. And so that one soldier that remained goes back with some elf messengers with gifts for from Melian to Morwen. And they're like, you could come back with us if you want. Melian and Thingol extend their offer of hospitality to you as well. And Morwen's like, probably shouldn't. My husband's going to be back any minute now. But what I will do is I'm going to give you this helm that's really, really big and heavy, and because I can't hide it from the Easterlings anymore. So I'm going to give you that in replacing my presence. And I'm sure Turin's going to be totally fine with it. Boys love, weapons and armor and stuff. So he'd much rather this than me. So it's fine. So the elves go back to Menegroth, and Turin, who, thinks his mom's going to, be coming with these elf messengers. His mom's going to be living with them now. Everything's going to be all back to normal. He sees the messengers come back, and his mom's not there. And this brings on what is called the second sorrow of Turin. And that's basically where I left you last week.
So sad. Do you think
sad.
they just like handed him the helmet and he's like just staring at it like, this isn't what I wanted. Like,
that's not my mom.
This isn't. Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
We'll get on Turin's reaction to the helmet at the end of the episode. We're actually going to pick right back up where we left off, with the helm being basically handed to Thingol. But, the messengers do explain Morwen's declined invitation to Menegroth. And, it's not really easy to understand for most people. Maybe it's just me, but getting an invite to a place away from Easterlings with beautiful amenities, no shortage of food and comfort, it just... You don't want that, Morwen? That sounds okay? You want to chill with your starvation and your cold and your,
Be boring.
Okay. Yeah. But
okay, but
Melian. Go ahead.
Okay, but like I know she's like grieving or whatever, or she's like in denial grieving. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like, part of me is like wants to do the whole like slap across the face, like pull your stuff together. Yes. Like, come on.
Like,
you've got children to think about.
Like, the fact that they had the conversation beforehand and she brought up that that's where she would go, I feel like if Hurin did come back, that's where he would go. So it's not like she
he told her to go there. It's not like he's going to be like, it's not like he's going to be like,
find you.
This horrible place. Yeah.
But anyways,
plan.
Melian understands it and understands it though. She's very wise and perceptive, and I think if she were in Morwen's shoes, she'd likely have stayed behind as well, waiting for her lord and husband to return too, no matter how slim the odds are of that. Because I feel like she is just that loyal to her man. Because let's not forget that Melian is one of the Maiar. She's a Maiar, y'all. Like, it's easy to forget because she has been integrated so deeply among the elves and other beings of Middle Earth that it's just kind of like forgotten about. But I feel like her loyalty to Thingol kind of puts that to the side. That she would be her love for her man is so good, so great that she gave up that Maiar life, and although she doesn't have the power of, let's say, the Valar, as a Maiar, she does have some gifts, including the gift of foresight. So, plus, seeing all the things she has seen through her many years of being alive, she has seen a lot of history, which offers her more of an advantage compared to these practically newborn baby elves and even more newborn baby men. Now,
they're just little babies.
Now, it doesn't specify, but Melian does see glimpses, we'll say, of Morwen's future. And she can, it's not specified, like I said, but it's not looking good. So her invitation to Morwen to come back to Menegroth was Melian's attempt to avoid that fate for her. But fate is stubborn, and Morwen declining that invitation is just kind of sealing her fate even further, which is unfortunate because it's not a fun future for her. But in other news,
she's probably like looking into her future, and Turin's like, "Are you or if she was there, she'd be like, what do you see?" She's like, "Ooh,
yeah."
Ooh,
how do you feel about
looks great?
How do you do end up with Hurin? You do end up with Hurin. That's nice. That's a good thing, right?
Ooh.
But the most important thing that the messengers did return with was the Helm of Hador. Now we are going to give up all kinds.
Is that the one with the cool dragon on it?
Yes. Because, if you're going to give your kid a gift to make up for not being there with him, it might as well be a magical, death-defying helmet with a huge dragon on it that wouldn't possibly fit him for the next 10 years. I mean, it's
oh my gosh, imagine him trying to put it on.
Yeah.
it falling over his eyes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do
Boo from Monsters Inc. because she puts on the little hard hat. All right, so we're going to do a deep dive into this helm because I can't think of any piece of armor that gets this cool in all the Tolkien universe. I mean, there's no cool breastplate or anything. We get a helmet, and we're going to talk. I mean, there was some cool glowy armor.
True.
Wasn't there some cool glowy armor?
Glowy and black armor too, I think. But none as cool as his helmet.
Was it what's his name?
I think A-Hole had black armor.
Whoa.
And
what's his name? He fought Morgoth.
Fingolfin, I think, had glowy armor. I think it was just so shiny.
Fingolfin. Yeah, was Fingolfin the one that took on Morgoth one-on-one?
Yes, I think so. Or Fingon.
And his
Fingon. I am sorry. That was
one of the Foof brothers.
One of the Finn.
One of the Foof brothers.
Yeah.
Had shiny armor, right?
Yeah.
It glowed kind of cool, like blue or something.
His shield, I think, had sapphires or something on it, or diamonds or something crazy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So cool.
Mm-hmm. But anyways,
I want someone to do I want someone who has lots of money
Uh-huh.
to do an art show, like museum, where they make these pieces out of like fine metals and precious stones, and like they make it like really cool. Oh my
I
gosh,
bet someone
that's
has,
amazing.
but you don't see a lot of Silmarillion armor in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
keep going.
So this helm. Quote, that helm was made of gray steel adorned with gold, and on it were graven runes of victory. A power was in it that guarded any who wore it from wound or death, for the sword that hewed it was broken, and the dart that smote it sprang aside.
So that does that mean like if you wear it, your whole body's okay, or if it just like hits you in the head,
Like
that
a bulletproof
breaks?
helmet, but you're vulnerable everywhere
Yeah,
else. Maybe.
yeah, yeah. Just shield with your head, kids.
Well,
Shield with your head.
it does say that guarded any who wore it from wound or death. So I think it's a whole body thing.
Oh.
Quote, it had a visor after the manner of those that the dwarves used in their forges for the shielding of their eyes. And the face of one that wore it struck fear into the hearts of all beholders.
Is it one of those cool? We see them more in like the Rings of Power, where it's like it looks like a dwarven face, like it has like a beard, and like that would look cool.
Yeah. So I do think that is one part that is hard to recreate. Like a lot of the pictures of the Helm of Hador don't have this piece, but I mean, it's hard to imagine what it would look like. But I also like either the Rings of Power dwarf masks, or I also think of I think there's like a Persian or Chinese kind of looking mask that has the same kind of like a scary face to scare your enemies
It
kind of a
looks
thing.
like a face.
Yeah.
Like it's not just like a flat piece of metal. Like it looks like a face.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, but I don't feel like it would be that hard to recreate. Like people who have recreated it, I haven't seen the face shield either.
Right.
So I'm like, it's not that. I mean, I haven't made it, so who am I to say?
Next cosplay, Abby. Quote, upon its crest was set in defiance a gilded image of the head of Glaurung the dragon, for it had been made soon after he first issued from the gates of Morgoth.
So, yes, dragons are terrifying. So, like, to put something terrifying on your armor would be like, whoa, I'm scary too, whatever.
Mhm.
But, like, I don't know. I feel funny about, like, putting things on your armor that, like, killed a bunch of your friends.
Yeah. Well, to be
Like-
fair, when he made it, they hadn't killed friends yet.
Do you think that, like, he's wearing it and then after that happened, like, Galaran killed a bunch of people? They're like, like,
Well, and
that's a little
also,
offensive. Too soon.
But-
That was my brother, man. He killed my brother.
but also, like sometimes you put things on your armor or your things in like you're trying to channel.
They defeated this.
Yeah, or like we channeling the spirit of it, or like I like these, so I'm gonna have this on my armor. The defiance part is a little foggy. I mean, I will say, like if you
maybe it's like the like World War I and World War II that they put like things that they've defeated, like tallies on their planes or on their like stuff like that. Like I defeated this.
Yeah.
Like this is how amazing I am that I took this down. Maybe it's like that. Maybe it's like,
but they haven't
fear
defeated
me
it
because
yet.
I defeated this. I know, but I'm saying like we're stronger than we lived through the whatever, but also still that's like I get the like I'm terrifying, but it's also like I want to look terrifying, so I'm going to put a dragon. Everyone's terrified of dragons, and then you're like, oh no, that dragon killed so many people.
Yeah. It's triggering for some.
Too soon, man. Too soon.
So, I mean, maybe not the like dragon aspect or the shield aspect was necessary, but this magic of the runes giving the wearer safety, protection. Like, I feel like more than one of these could have been made. I mean, if you know how to do that, then why not do it
Only
more?
one guy gets saved.
Yeah.
Only one guy.
And speaking of making more, it was crafted by a dwarf named Telkar, and he was a dwarf from Nogrod. Now, do you remember what other cool things Telkar made?
I remember us talking about that he needed to have like a museum of all the cool things that he's made because
Yes,
he
he
has
does.
made a bunch of like famous things in the trilogy and the anthology of Tolkien's world.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't remember exactly what he's made, but I know that he's a like the guy,
He is
like
the
he's
dude.
the blacksmith.
Yeah. So one thing he made that probably isn't as well known, but it's one of his claims to fame, was a dagger named Angrist. Looks like angry, but Angrist.
I'm an angrist.
And that dagger was what Theron used to pry the Silmaril from Morgoth's crown.
Oh, so it's special.
It's special.
You know what I feel like? It feels like, in like Catholic churches where they have like, and this was used like to do this, and like something special or like
what are those called?
Artifact or there's a name for it.
That's really gonna bother me. Artifact.
What are those called? Reliquary.
Relic.
Reliquary.
Yeah, relic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm smart. I know things.
You are so smart. The second thing that Telkar made was a little blade. I'm not sure if you would recognize it by the name of Narsil. Just that blade, the sword that cut the one ring, I can talk, from Sauron's hand before it was shattered into a million pieces by Sauron stomping on it.
I didn't take into account of someone stepping on it. Dang it.
So Angrist, Narsil, and then this awesome dragon helm. Sidebar about Telkar. Not a ton is known about him, which is shocking given all the cool stuff he made. They don't even know what his name means or anything about his life other than he made this cool stuff. The only educated guess they have about him was that he could have been of the Firebeard clans of the dwarves, which sounds pretty cool.
Firebeard?
Yes. So does that mean red hair or does that mean...
Oh, I learned that Blackbeard, the pirate, used to put like things in his beard to catch on fire to make himself look crazy when he would go like onto people's ships. Maybe it's like that. Maybe they were like as a fighting tactic and they looked scary because they had fire beards.
I love it. But this guy, I really wish we could, like you said, have like a museum or like a tribute to him because like he made some really cool magical things that lasted through the ages. And can you imagine if Telkar could have teamed up with like Celebrimbor or like Fëanor? Like, can you imagine the cool stuff they could have made? Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes.
How do you spell his name?
Telchar. Telkar.
Okay.
I would love to understand more about the making of these magical weapons. Like, how were they so strong or magical? Like, was this magic only limited to like 3 items? Like, no, that's all you get. It's like unobtainium that, you can only use it for 3 things at the most. Or what's that thing from Game of Thrones? Something steel. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. That
Dragon steel? No.
It's close to that. It's like...
I thought it was dragon steel. Am I wrong?
Oh, now I feel
Valcar steel or something like that?
Valinor.
Valerian
Valerian
steel.
steel. Thank you. We got there in the end. So, anyways, interesting also that Telkar from Nogrod made such a gift for the Lord of Belagost, because that's who he made it for. Azekal, Lord of Belagost. Because remember, there's two kind of main dwarf settlements in Beleriand at this time. There's Belagost and Nogrod. So why didn't Telkar make anything for Nogrod? Don't know. Like, maybe he didn't like him. Maybe he didn't pay as much.
Like,
I don't know. Yeah. So, anyways.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at awesome art, Telkar, and things that he's made.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a really beautiful, like, oil painting that's really cool.
Post it.
I want to look more into this artist.
Yeah.
It's called The Dragon Helm of Dorlomen by Klaus Whitman.
Oh, I have not heard of him.
It's really cool.
We'll have to post it.
I will. I'll do that. I'm going to email it to you right now.
Okay. So, anyways, it is with Azekal.
And it is done. And it is the thing that I did.
I did do that. Name that movie. If you know that movie, you were one of us. Anyways, so it is with Azekal that the fun white elephant gift exchange of Beleriand starts. Because, you know, this Azekal is wearing this, either has it or is wearing it all the time, whatever, and he's besieged by orcs. And Maedhros happened to be nearby and rescued him. So Azekal, and gratitude for saving his life, gifts the helm to Maedhros. Now, while Maedhros, I'm sure, was honored by the gift, it should be noted that only a certain body type can wear such a helmet. It's pretty massive, and it's heavy, and it's not exactly practical to wear for just anyone. So think of the build of like a dwarf, which is kind of square, you know, broad shoulders, kind of your football or, you know, wrestler.
A lot of body hair, a lot of head hair.
Yes. Okay. So think of that kind of, you know, body type, and then think of Maedhros, known for being taller than most, and as an elf, while strong, is most likely pretty narrow framed and slim.
Slender.
So unable to wear the helm himself, Maedhros passed it on to his buddy Fingon, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, as Fingon, also an elf, most likely had the same physique problem. But Fingon was the person to really battle Glaurung when he first appeared outside the gates of Morgoth. So maybe Maedhros thought it would like be a nice memento, and like maybe he could use it for like a doorstop or something. I don't know. And then eventually the helm. The helm continued on its journey, ending up in the House of Hador when Fingon honored Hador as Lord of Dorlomen. And so he gives the land of Dorlomen to him, and he's like, and also take this helmet that does not fit me.
I'm throwing in this helmet as a consolation prize. Here you go.
Quote, but in all Hithlum, no head and shoulders were found stout enough to bear the dwarf helm with ease, save those of Hador and his son Galdor. Now, Hador
your head's
wore it proud
enough.
Yes. Hador wore it proudly in war. He was actually a good fit for it. Quote, and the hearts of the host of Hithlum were uplifted when they saw it towering high amid the battle, and they cried, of more worth is the dragon of Dorlomen than the gold worm of Angband.
So they were kind of making the dragon their, like,
yeah,
we have a dragon symbol too. We have a dragon. Not really, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I didn't really think about the dragon crest until I read this part. It literally probably like was like, I don't know how to explain, like a crest, like, you know how like the Roman centurions had those like big, red things on their helmets and it stuck out
like a mohawk.
Yes. I think of it like that. Like you could probably see it like above everyone else's heads during the battle. So you always knew where your lord was or whatever, which is kind of cool. But also it's a, making yourself a target, I could see as well, but whatever. But here is where things get interesting or kind of sad. So everyone who owned the helm and wore it had a habit of ending up dead somehow. So not counting Maedhros
But
and
not
Fingon,
wearing it.
right? But they all have these weird things around their deaths. So Maedhros and Fingon don't count here because I don't think they actually like wore it really. They kind of were just the pass-alongers, if anything.
Given. What is that called? When you give someone a gift, it was re-gifted to them.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, I still have the wrapping paper from the other person
Yes.
who gifted them.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, thanks.
Yes. So this helm is magical, right? Swords are supposed to break, darts are supposed to miss, enemies are supposed to flee at its sight, but you actually have to wear the helm for it to work. So let's talk about the first owner of the helm, Azekal. He had already gifted it to Maedhros, and therefore he wasn't wearing it during the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, where it definitely would have come in handy as he was literally fighting Glaurung and could have probably used a nice face shield, and it probably would have been an epic looking fight too, with the Glaurung on the thing and Glaurung right there. Azekal was a pretty bad A warrior though, and he did manage to wound Glaurung enough to take him off the battlefield before he died of his wounds. So R.I.P. Azekal, first owner of the helm. As for the next
curse of the helmet.
Yes. So the next owner, not including Maedhros or Fingon, we have Hador. Now, we don't know why Hador wasn't wearing it during the Battle of Sudden Flame where he died. Maybe he had already passed it on to his son, Galdor, at that point. But he probably could have used it during that battle, just saying. Galdor, unfortunately, literally just didn't have time to put the helm on before he was ambushed in a surprise attack because he died from an arrow to the eye, also in the Battle of Sudden Flame. And you know what prevents an arrow to the eye? A freaking invincible magical helm that literally was made with a shield over the eyes.
Do you think after he got shot in the eye, he's like, dang it. He's like, only
there was something made to protect the eyes while in battle. If only.
Dang, you got me. You got me. That was a good one. Darn it.
So the next person who got it was Galdor's son, Hurin, who apparently, quote, did not wear the dragon helm with ease. Because remember, while Hurin is of the House of Hador, he didn't inherit his body type and his build from his father's people. Instead, he was a bit on the shorter side, like his mother, who was of the folk of Haleth. So it probably didn't fit Hurin really well, which is interesting because that would mean his brother Hur, who was taller and more like their father, probably would have worn it perfectly. And the ironic thing is, do you remember how Hur died?
Did it? Okay, because Hurin and Hur are brothers, and I remember because I kept getting them mixed up, and then you said he's the one who got Hur is the one who got hit in the face with an arrow.
Yep. Also an arrow to the eye, just like his father. Both really could have used a helm with a visor. Yeah. So
what are the chances? I'm sorry. What?
But
hey, Tolkien, love you, buddy. Love you. A little lazy on that one. Could have thought of a different way for him to go.
Nope. But the irony is what I love, though, because I mean, okay, it doesn't exactly work for you because you have a sibling, like it's just you two. And this isn't really how you guys work. But I could see.
I have I grew up with a sibling, so yes. I have like Because I have more than one sibling, but I
Well,
only grew up with one
sorry, you
sibling.
only grew up with one sibling. I'm meaning more from the purpose of my example here. I'm thinking more of like other sibling rivalry kind of things where like, okay, so the second born child doesn't get the good stuff, right? Like they get all of the family heirlooms
Hand-me-downs.
first, and then the second child gets like the hand me downs. But like I could totally see Hurin being like, "Oh, this one fits you perfectly. Yeah, it doesn't fit me. I'm just gonna put it on my mantle." Like he didn't even.
Oh,
You get my
that
point?
kind of
Yeah, that kind of thing.
yes.
Like you,
Oh
you
my
and your sister
goodness.
didn't really do that, but I can think of other, sibling rivalry displays that would be very similar. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but
Mhm.
you can see you've heard this tale before where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna put this over here and not use it.
Oh, you like this thing? Well, I'm gonna keep it, but I'm not even gonna do anything with it. So it's really gonna bug you that like I own it and
Yeah.
you don't. Like,
Yes.
ugh, yes.
Yeah. So I could see Horn doing that, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know his life. I don't know how he was with his brother, but I could totally see that. Um,
Hmm.
because what's annoying is that he could have worn it to the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. He literally chose to leave it behind with it doing no good to anyone because, quote, he would rather look on my foes with my true face.
That is fleshy and also mortal.
Right.
and very breakable and stabbable
Yes.
and
Like, I don't need no crutch.
choppable.
I'm going to not use a magical helm. It's like playing a video game on like the lowest levels, like, and still trying to beat it. like the lowest
I can do
experience
it.
points.
I
Yeah.
believe in myself.
Yes. Um, so he literally kept it on a shelf and considered it, quote, among the greatest heirlooms of his house,
Mm.
instead of giving it to
So
his brother, who it
he
fit
was a
him
bit
more and
he
he could
was a
have
bit
seized.
silly.
Yeah.
Bit
Which
silly.
is how Morwen ended up with it and was able to pass it on. It's a bit fuzzy if Morwen meant for the helm to go directly to Thingol, like in gratitude, or if she was like, hey, could you hang on to this until my son is big enough for it, or, what happened there. But either way, Torun wasn't around when the messengers returned with the helm, because he just immediately ran off when he didn't see his mom among them. So the helm was, given to King Thingol. Now, Thingol wasn't lacking in treasure. In fact, Menegroth's armories were filled with all sorts of cool stuff. Even things from Valinor, despite the fact that Thingol actually never went to Valinor, where all the best stuff was made, because remember, he was busy falling in love with Meliant and he was in that love bubble and, forgot all of his duties and responsibilities. So he had received things from
like a good leader.
Right. But he had received things from Valinor as gifts, including, quote, metal.
Wedding gifts?
Kind of, maybe. Quote, metal wrought like fish's mail and shining like water in the moon. Swords and axes, shields and helms wrought by Telkar himself or by his master Gamil Zirak the Old, or by elven rights more skillful still. I like how we just gloss over that. Like he also had, trade TM Telkar things, but I don't think they were as magical or anything else in his.
It's like saying it's like saying he had Louis Vuitton.
Yes.
He had Gucci.
Yes.
He had Coco Chanel.
It was a brand.
Yeah.
And even over the years, Thingol had been gifted items made by Fëanor, which I'm sure Thingol had mixed feelings about, because remember, he really didn't like their sons or his sons. And I really don't think he would have liked Fëanor either. But, when Fëanor makes the coolest stuff, sometimes you just kind of ignore that Fëanor made by Fëanor on the back of the, thing and just kind of.
He's like, that guy's a jerk, but darn it, can he make a sword?
Yes.
That thing is beautiful.
Exactly. So, despite having a ton of other cool stuff, when Thingol got the helm, quote, he handled the Helm of Hador as though his hoard were scanty, and he spoke courteous words, saying, proud were the head that bore this helm, which the sires of Hurin bore.
Mm.
So, he handled the Helm of Hador as though his hoard were scanty. Like, is he, like, greedy about it? He's like, ooh, mine! You know, like... Or is he kind of like...
Or maybe he
so
actually thought this was special, because it feels like the other things that he got, he's like, whatever. Just throw it in the pile.
Yeah.
This one, he's like, this is cool.
Yes. And then I like the little kind of glimpse he gets into the previous owners, which I'm like, is that an elf thing? Did he, like, hold a sword and be like, this was owned by blah, 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 blah.
I need the family tree of this sword, please.
Yes. I bet they could do that, though.
Yes.
And then it says that Thingol all of a sudden gets an idea. And he asks Turin to be brought to him. Now, Turin was probably still out in the woods crying because his mom didn't return as he had hoped. But Thingol...
So sad.
Yes. This heart recently grew 3 sizes Thingol told him, quote, that Morwen had sent her son a mighty thing, the heirloom of his fathers. Take now the dragon head of the north, and when the time comes, wear it well.
Ooh. Mysterious.
Yes. So I immediately thought of Dumbledore giving Harry the cloak and telling him to use it well, wear it well, use it well. But, of course, apparently no one knows how to talk to Turin because he's too young. He doesn't understand how cool of a gift this is. He's not even strong enough to, like, lift it. Plus, he's still upset over his mom not coming back. And all he does is, quote, and he heeded it not because of the sorrow of his heart.
It's not my mom.
Yeah.
I want my mom. Yeah. I don't want this helmet.
Pretty much. And that's actually where I'm going to leave you.
Oh. Well, honestly, I just want to know more about that cool dwarf blacksmith dude.
Right?
I wish he got his own story.
You know what? I bet someone
cool.
has made like a fan fiction about him, or like those Magic the Gathering things, the like Lord of the Rings version. I bet has like a cool card on him.
My friend has all those, and I should look if she has a Telcar card. Telcar card.
Telcar card.
Well, I gotta say, I don't understand the thought process on Morwen and her. I mean, I'm not in her shoes. I'm not grieving like that. I don't know. And she just had a baby, so like also postpartum depression.
Definitely could be a factor.
So, which isn't a new thing in the Tolkien universe, postpartum depression and anxiety.
Feanor's mom.
So maybe she's dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I can give her some benefit of the doubt, but also like, girl, your son is sad. Like, he doesn't need a metal helmet.
I was posting a bunch of pictures of Morwen, and I was posting a bunch of pictures of Morwen like a couple of weeks ago, and someone was like, "Oh, she's my favorite character. She's so strong," and I'm like, "That's one way to think of it."
She is strong.
She is strong.
So you're right. Mm-hmm.
But does the mom just need to be strong? A table is also strong.
I don't want to be mothered by a table. They can't give you hugs. Or tell you that they're proud of you.
Uh-huh.
They will help you with your homework and let you have meals, but that's it.
Like, it's supportive, right?
Yeah, supporting.
Well, yeah. So thank you for joining us on this epic journey through Middle-earth. Be sure to follow us at Sisters of the Shire podcast on Instagram for all sorts of fun things. Big shout outs to our favorite people ever, our patrons Dan, Chrishane, and Tom. You guys rock. If you want to join our fellowship, you can go to patreon.com/Sisters of the Shire podcast. For $3 a month, you'll become an elf friend of the Shire. For $7, a dwarf friend of the Shire. And for $9 a month, you can stand with our men and women friends of the Shire. Your support keeps these tales alive. It helps pay for our costs. It also just, makes us feel a little good.
It lifts our spirit.
It does.
It lifts our spirit.
So if you're enjoying our ventures, feel free to join. If you can't, we get it. Please just leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us grow and find other people across the Middle Earth.
And just tell your friends. Like at school. School started again here in America, maybe not where you live, but school started again. That's like super fun to just like, maybe find new people that are into Tolkien like you are. Maybe you guys can get new friends that way at school.
Yeah. I was wearing my Middle Earth map sweatshirt in Oregon when I was visiting you. And someone at the hotel I was at was like, cool sweatshirt, and was just like walking by. And it took everything in me not to turn around and be like, hey, wait! Have you heard of this awesome podcast?
I've got podcasts.
Yeah. I had to restrain myself.
You couldn't get the words out, and you're like, podcast. That's all you say.
That literally would happen to me, though. You know me so well.
And then he's like, he hurries and runs away.
Yeah. In world news, Brazil went on a listening binge. They are now 14th. They went from 17th to 14th. So good job, Brazil.
Whoa, that is a big jump.
Right? And then, what was it? Someone gave us a shout out on or commented on an episode. And I'm sorry I can't find it at this exact moment. But you're like, hope you're having a good day. I get an alert.
Is it on like Apple Podcast?
No, it's on. It is on the like Anchor, Spotify podcast thing. No,
you'll have to screenshot it for me and send it to me later.
I will. I'm so sorry, person. I will give you all the praise, and I appreciate it so much. He said like something, love you girls, and I'm like, oh, thank you. And then
Beyonce? Oh my gosh. I didn't know she was a fan.
I mean, who isn't? But that's really going to bother me. I will text it to you immediately, and then Abby will. Oh, I found it. Renan Myron. Just because you guys talked about your listeners, shout out from Brazil. It was you. Much love, girls.
The binger.
So thank you, Renan. I'm so sorry. It's Renan. Renan. I'm so sorry. Please don't hate us. We love you and we appreciate you.
Our Caucasian tongues. We try.
Yeah. Darn, this American accent. But it looks like he's on episode 7.
Guys,
he's got quite a ways to listen to this. But once you get there, dude.
Leave more fun things like that. Yes. We'll read them out. But they have to be nice and happy.
Yes.
That's our only stipulation. Yes. Okay.
Heck yes.
Well, thank you for teaching me today.
Yeah. You're welcome. And until next time, I've been Ashley.
And I've been Abby. And this has been the Sisters of the Shire podcast. And we're so happy you joined us today. And we hope you can join us next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for teaching me a day.